Thanks for joining us. Our big story on this Wednesday night. Warnings continue about the potential for explosive fire growth across Virginia.
The warnings follow a third day of wildfire flare-ups in Gloucester. Today, the National Weather Service extended red flag fire warnings in the region. And just about all local cities have banned open-air burning. 13
News has team coverage of the fire dangers with Chief Meteorologist Jeff Lawson keeping an eye on the winds and the weather conditions. 13 News reporter Velma Scape is in Gloucester, but we begin with 13 News anchor Vince Kelly in Sky 13 flying over Gloucester, where hotspots continue to flare up.
That is right. They continue to flare up. Let's take a look outside. You can see this line of fire, how massive it is here, but not to the degree that we saw yesterday about a mile south from here. We are off Guinea Circle Road in Brown Bay, right at the mouth of the York River on this little neck here. Most of this fire in the marshland, but up a little bit to the north. The fire was approaching some homes. We saw it on a structure earlier on. Firefighters are here fighting the fire. They are by themselves now. Earlier we had a helicopter with what they call a Bambi bucket dropping about 108 gallons of water per load on top of this fire. But as it is getting closer to dark, the helicopter has to move off, and now firefighters are left to their own devices. It appears to me from the air they are in the same mode they were last night over off Jenkins Neck Road, where they were in protect mode. We see them going to areas where there are garages and where there are homes, and I have watched them put out fire lines that are approaching those garages or homes. We have seen a lot of residents out here using their hoses, using buckets, using shovels, trying to stamp onto the fire. The wind, Jeff mentioned it a little earlier in our 90 minutes of news, seems to be out of the northwest, which is good because most of the houses that we see are on the northwest rim of the fire, and the fire appears to be moving to the south a little bit now. There are some homes farther off, but it looks like there is some water, some creeks that are in the way of that fire, a natural fire break, if you will. Of course, we have crews on the ground as well, but we'll continue to stay over this fire here in Gloucester. Live in Sky 13, Vince Kelly, 13 News.
Our team coverage continues with 13 News Peninsula Bureau Chief Velma Scape. And Velma, hotspots have been flaring up all day.
Well, that's right, Regina. We don't know how many acres have burned today or how many acres may be still burning, but there have been hot spots all day long, and the main line of defense has been to just set up perimeter to keep the flames in check. It's estimated that last night's fires burned about 100 acres. This morning, there were still more than a dozen controlled hotspots. But at times, a change in the wind made a control situation seem very out of control as flames jumped from one spot to another with no predictable pattern, and firefighters putting them out with whatever means available. Across the street, one property owner stayed home from work to stand guard over his home with a garden hose.
It's pretty much burned down, but a lot of this stuff will burn through the brush and catch, and then with the wind blowing like it is, you can see behind us where all that's been whipped up again. I'm just trying to provide a little barrier to my property.
Firefighters could have brought in water trucks to douse some of the day's early hot spots, but with manpower so exhausted from the night before, a decision was made to try and conserve resources.
The fire department did their part, what they could do. Ain't nothing wrong with the water. The guys, hey, for somebody that didn't get paid for something, you gotta put your hand up to them.
Just a couple of hours ago, a fresh group of firefighters were getting instructions on where to go. A new group of homes near Browns Bay were in the next line of fire.
County advised that he's calling in off-duty people to try to man it.
So we're trying to consolidate our resources in that area, and forestry is advising on how we should attack that.
And firefighters from at least a half a dozen agencies and localities are helping the local volunteers here. There are some residents who are just very, very upset. They believe that some of these fires may have been deliberately set, but the Director of Emergency Management says it is way too early to say what may have caused any of the fires. Live from Gloucester County, Velma Scape, 13 News.
13 News Chief Meteorologist Jeff Lawson continues our team coverage of this big story tonight. Jeff's monitoring wind advisories and red flag warnings in the 13 News Weather Lab. Jeff.
Well, the red flag warning literally just in the last 4 minutes was nullified. It's not going to be put up again tomorrow, even though it's going to be a little breezy. It's just not quite the combination of the very strong winds, but we're still going to have the low humidity. We're going to have the dry conditions. Right now, nothing Again, in terms of any significant rainfall that would help things out, we were tracking the smoke plume a little bit earlier. So let's talk right now, though. Instead, let's use Live Weather Lab radar to track some of the winds across the region. And you'll see sustained yesterday and even earlier today, they were running 20 miles per hour, gusting to 30, 35. Right now, everything is primarily in the upper single digits inland, closer to the coastline in the teens. I want to actually zoom in a little bit here and go to the view right around the biggest fire there in Gloucester, and you'll be able to see right around where that cell is, westerly at 11, the fire's burning definitely in that area, west at 10, so things are easing up some, and they'll get a little bit better again tomorrow, but still use caution in terms of the open fires and everything, as it will still be very dry. That's the latest from the 13 News Weather Lab.